Hope is in short supply tonight for more than 900 people from the Peguis First Nation in Manitoba. It's been nearly a year since floods forced them from their community. Since then, they've been living in limbo in hotels far from their homes. But recently, some were able to make the journey back for a glimpse of what's left behind. Brittany Greenslade was there as they witnessed firsthand what they've lost.
It's the first time Daryl Sinclair has walked up the stairs to his Peguis First Nation home in months.
That water is amazing, how fast it can do damage.
It's a frigid morning, and it's no warmer inside this home than out.
Oh, no power. But see how everything has frosted up now? We haven't been home.
It's been 9 months since flooding on the reserve forced more than 2,100 people from their homes and out of the community. More than 900 are still unable to return. Sinclair and his family lost everything.
You miss everything. Yeah, you want to be with friends and neighbors, and you want your family here. You're lost. That's how we feel. We're lost.
Looking around, it's as if time has stood still, but Mother Nature hasn't. The walls, windows, and doors are frozen.
A little frosty.
Standing inside, the memories are flooding back.
The water had come to this height. We were able to see our first step, but everything was underwater.
It's dark. You can barely see right in front of you, but you don't need to see. You can hear what's below. Water is still seeping in. Mold has taken over. His is one of at least 85 homes that have been condemned. 200 others are unlivable in their current states. Dozens of homes will be torn down and rebuilt, but no one knows when or where. It's a waiting game that's left hundreds of families in limbo.
I want to go home so bad.
With so much damage done to the community, the hardest part is not knowing when life will start to return to normal. Because for so many others from previous floods, it still hasn't. 170 evacuees from other floods on the First Nation are still out of their homes.
I'll paddle over it.
Evacuees from last year have already been living in hotels around southern Manitoba since last April and are worried they may end up in the same boat.
Well, does that mean we have to stay here that long? Because that's the hard part for me, is knowing I don't have a home to go to.
But even the thought of her home brings Melissa Sanderson to tears. The house that once belonged to her grandparents is gone.
And being told that they're condemning it, it's the only thing we have left of them. So being told that we can't go home is hard.
Instead, they're forced to live in hotels more than 180 kilometers away in Winnipeg. With so many people bundled in sharing rooms, it means taking any small space you can to call your own, even if only for a few moments.
Wow.
But for others like Sinclair, that struggle has been secondary to another battle.
Cancer on top of worrying about my home and family.
Yeah.
It's really bad. All I did was pray. I prayed and prayed and prayed. I had people praying for me that we'd be all okay.
He's been undergoing chemotherapy for months. Today, there is good news. He's in remission.
The biggest fight is done. Yeah.
Now he's focused on getting healthy and getting a new home. But the chief says talks with Ottawa have been slow, and they haven't received the approvals or money needed for the rebuilds.
I've been telling them, let's start constructing. Let's start doing things, because in 2 months or 3 months, the thaw is going to happen and we're going to have another flood. So we should have begun already.
Homes now have to be rebuilt at higher levels. It means adding elevation to the ground while also keeping a few feet of extra space empty underneath the first floor just in case. It's a process that has to happen to all of these previously flooded homes and so many others.
That's the ultimate goal that I have, is to one day hear that announcement that although Peguis flooded, there has been no reports of damages and there's no need for evacuations.
But those plans will take years, leaving hundreds of evacuees still waiting.
And Brittany's back in Winnipeg. Tell us about the responsibility of the federal government here.
Well, the one thing to remember about all of this is that Peguis was put in this position by the federal government back in the early 1900s. The community was uprooted from its settlement on prime farmland just outside Selkirk and forced to relocate to a flood zone. Now, the Prime Minister was in Winnipeg recently, and we asked if he felt an extra sense of responsibility to the community because of that. He says for too long, too many Indigenous communities have been failed by governments. He says they're working to future-proof vulnerable areas like Peguis, but what exactly that looks like is still to be determined.
Thanks, Brittany.